So here we are, once again. Today we're doing mod day 13. I've only got one mod to show you, and this is Skyrim Realistic Overhaul. The reason why I'm only showing you one mod, and it's this mod in particular, is because a lot of people I have noticed recently, when they see the mod is not available on Nexus, they immediately think manual install. This is not a good idea, because chances are you're not going to remove that mod whenever you go to uninstall all your rest of your mods. If you ever have mod that adds a DLL or similar, and you don't remove that DLL, well, you're in for a little bit of trouble. So first of all, go ahead and find the mod you want to download. Go to Files, and since we're downloading the Special Edition version, we need parts 1, 2, 3, and the update. Do not get the SRO 1.8 original update unless you're on Skyrim Legendary Edition. So let's go ahead and download all 3 of these parts. Here, you need to click the Download Now button, click the Download button again, and if you don't have this pop-up that appears, it's going to be downloading to your Downloads folder. That's fine, and I'll show you why in a moment. But I'm going to go ahead and download here to this folder, which is the Vortex Downloads folder. Now here we are with the files downloaded. Imagine this is your downloads folder on the left, and your mod manager on the right. So, if you download it to your downloads folder instead of your mod downloads folder, then you can go ahead and select the files on the left, go to the downloads tab if you're using Vortex, and drag into the bottom section. If you use MO2, you should be able to drag into the downloads section anywhere. If you use Cortex, it doesn't matter because with these files, since they are not a faux mod, you'll have to extract them anyway. So go ahead and extract /. Once your mod manager has finished copying over the downloaded files into your mod downloads folder, you can go ahead and delete the originals. And then go ahead and click the drop down, switch from never installed to enabled. If you use MO2, you might need to hit refresh to have them appear. But go ahead and double click each one. I'm going to go ahead and name them all like so, just to make it a little bit easier on myself. Go ahead and name the second part the exact same thing. And okay, let's merge it. This should allow to overwrite some files that are redundant. If you use Cortex Mod Manager, once you have finished extracting the archives that you downloaded, go ahead and open all 4. Once you've got all 4 open, make sure you go into the data folder of each of them. Drag and drop the contents of 1.8 into the folder for part 3. Once you've done that, drag and drop the contents of part 3 into the folder of part 2, and the contents of part 2 into the folder of part 1. Go ahead and go to Cortex and add new mod from folder. Select the folder part 1. And then you should be able to import that rather easily instead of having to import all 4 files. Next up, if you use Vortex, go ahead and go to the mod staging folder by clicking the folder icon in the top section. Once there, go ahead and select all 4 of the new folders that you just created. Open a new window. Drag and drop the contents of parts 2 and 3 into the folder for part 1. Once those are done, go ahead and drag and drop the contents of part 1.8 or the update to override part 1, 2, and 3 in the part 1 folder. Go ahead and delete the now empty folders. Restart Vortex. This should automatically warn you that files are missing. It's okay, we know we deleted them. Other times you will want to verify why those were deleted, and probably restore them before you reopen Vortex. Now that we've installed with any of your chosen manager, we're going to go ahead and process this rather quickly with Cathedral Asset Optimizer, CAO. So go ahead and go to your tools folder that you have it stored in previously, open CAO, and go ahead and in the settings of Cathedral Asset Optimizer, enable Create Empty Plugins. Once there, go ahead and if you're using Cortex, go to the Open Directory, go to the Cortex Mods folder, find the most recent one, go into it, go into the mod files, select Data, and then save it and go into Cathedral and run it. If, however, you use Vortex or MO2, instead just go to the mod directory of your mod manager and select the SRO. Save it and hit run. Once you have finished processing the mod with CAO, go ahead and go into it. Rename the first ESP SRO. Go ahead and rename the first BSA SRO.BSA. Rename the textures. Rename the second BSA SRO // textures. Make sure it has a capital T .BSA. Rename next ESP SRO2 and repeat the process with the next two BSAs. Go ahead and rename the third ESP SRO3 and rename the third BSA SRO3 and then delete the two extra ESPs. Once you have done this in Vortex, go to the Mods pane again and hit Deploy. Then go to the Plugins tab. You'll notice that there is now 3 plugins named SRO, 1, 2, and 3. They will be sorted a little bit randomly right now because they're empty plugins and so they're just going to be sorted near the top. But in order to have these in a fixed location, because these are large mods, we want them near the top where most things will overwrite them. Go ahead and create a mod group by going to the Groups section, right click in the big area, and select Add Group. We're going to name it Large Textures. So with this, you'll notice that you can put this anywhere. Generally, you're going to want it between very early loaders and underrides. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and then double click on SRO, control click the other 2 SROs, and on the right, scroll till you find the Groups section, select that, drop down, Large Textures, enable that. If you're using MO2 instead, you're going to want to right click on the left side and select Refresh. This should show up on the right pane the plugins that you made. If not, then enable SRO on the left side. Go ahead and select these 3 plugins, drag it to the top, make sure SRO1 is first, then 2, then 3. Go ahead and right click, go to Lock Load Order, and lock it. If you use Cortex though, you'll need to enable it on the left, right click, refresh, go to the Plugins tab, enable all 3, drag them to the top. There is no automatic sorting at all in Cortex,